Hello, everybody. Good evening. So we're going to go ahead and get this meeting started. And I really am hoping I can get everyone to pay attention just a little bit, because I really would like to start today with a moment of silence. So thank you so much. We have had 3 terrible shootings. As people know, in the Asian American Pacific Islander Desi American community in Monterey Park, there were shootings of many people. And then just the next day, Half Moon Bay. And then we had just recently heard about the officers who were dismissed from their job for beating and killing an African-American young man in Memphis, Tennessee. He was originally from Sacramento. Most of his family is in Sacramento. So some of you may even know him. Imagine that. This world is very small. And in this time period, we have had more mass shootings in this country than we've had days on the calendar this year. So I just wanted to take a moment of silence. If you can, just bow your head for a few minutes or for a few seconds. Thank you. Our hearts are with the family and friends from everyone that is suffering right now. So we'll go ahead and start this joint special meeting. We have, of course, my colleagues, the San Luis Obispo City Council, and we have our colleagues across the way with the Citizens Revenue Enhancement Oversight Commission. So we'll go ahead and call this to order. Everyone is present, and we'll go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance first. If you can or are able, please stand. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Okay. So our new technology every time, it seems like right now. Well, first and foremost, I just want to thank everyone for coming, whether you're here today in person or there are people that have sent in their comments to us via email, to ourselves or as the email council or community forum. Thank you so much for putting in your communication and your thoughts. Your feedback, I mean, our entire city, we just got back last week from the League of California Cities Conference for new mayors and new city council members. And people were shocked as to how much community engagement that our little community has. And I think it's because of moments like this where the staff works really hard to make this kind of event happen. And all of you come out and share your opinions and your thoughts and really are invested in what happens in this community. So thank you very much. And I want to thank the commissioners from the REOC to be able to come out and attend this as well and be willing to make this a joint meeting. Thank you so much. As we get ready for this, we're looking at obviously our major city goals, our priorities, what we want to do with our community, but that also means how we spend our money. And therefore, the Revenue Enhancement Oversight Committee will really be able to absorb everything everyone's saying and look at how we can actually help spend our money, but also keep our staff accountable for what we say we're going to do. And as we started today with a moment of silence, I just want to make sure that everyone in this room knows, and everyone that might respond and talk about this later, that everyone here on this entire team of elected leaders, our administration from the city, your police department here, we want to make sure that everyone here in this entire community is safe. And sometimes, just like this engagement here, sometimes that means you as well getting involved. So this is your community. If you see something that's off, please, I encourage you to say something. We have, I save in my favorites on my phone, the non-emergency dispatch number for Cal Poly and for the city, so that if I see something, I can make sure I say something. And I hope that you would be interested in doing the same thing for your community members here. They're your neighbors. I know we're not totally family, but we can definitely stand up with each other and stand strong. So I want to go ahead and let the staff give the layout of what's going to happen today. We have an awesome facilitator today here, and will help share what's going on and how to manage this entire day. And I'll go ahead and hand it over to City Manager Derek Johnson.
Great. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and members of the council. And here to my left, we've got the Revenue Enhancement Oversight Committee. And to my left, we have Christine Dietrich, our city attorney, and Emily Jackson, our finance director. And so Ms. Jackson and I will be making a presentation here tonight, and then we'll get into tonight's activities and turn it over to our facilitator. I just want to echo the mayor's comments and just appreciate everyone for showing up. I think I'm very proud of this community and people for showing up tonight. This is really local democracy at its best, where we have people come out and decide the budget priorities for the next 2 years. Our community's been through a lot over the last few years. In fact, the last time we've done an in-person community priorities forum was back in 2019. You may remember in 2021, if you participated, we had to do it online because we were in the middle of a pandemic. And so many of you may have not experienced this forum before. Maybe this is your first time coming out to a public meeting, so thank you for doing that. COVID did have a significant impact on our financial plan, and we are really proud of the strong financial decisions that we made, and we were able to bounce back from COVID-19, and really we have a lot of strong points to talk about tonight. I'm really proud of that community. I'm also really thankful for the support of the community for Measure G back in 2020. We would not be in the financial position that we are today and have the ability to think and dream about what's possible here in the future. I also want to just caution the community as we think about the 23 to 25 financial plan, some things that I just want to bear in mind. There are some strong economic headwinds at play that we are taking a look at. We are well positioned, but we need to keep an eye on those macroeconomic issues are having a major inflationary impacts on operating programs, our capital programs. You've all read the headlines about inflation, and inflation has a rather insidious impact on everyone's budget, including local government. The encouraging news, at least some of the news that's coming out, is that inflation is coming down, but ultimately we'll have to see how this plays out. We did see a 23% increase in our capital improvement program. So the promises that we've made over the last decade or so to deliver key infrastructure projects, those are costing a lot more than all of us ever imagined. And so we're trying to balance out at the same time what it's going to take to deliver those key capital improvement projects, whether it's the Cultural Arts parking district, parking structure, or the Prado Road overpass. All of those are going to be more expensive than just 2 years ago. And we think that that gap for next year is anywhere from $8 to $12 million already going into our capital improvement program. And then we're also seeing some of the plateauing of the economic recovery. We all saw the economic recovery after COVID-19, and right now the Fed and local economists are forecasting that plateauing. We're not anticipating seeing the double-digit rebounds that we've seen over the last few years, and ultimately we'll see what the Fed's actions have on overall consumption, which is how we receive sales tax in particular. I do want to emphasize, and probably the elephant in the room as well, we just had a disaster just less than 2 weeks ago. We had, I think, historic floods that impacted our city, and I'm very, very proud of the entire city team and for our community rallying together. We all really showed some strengths and some resiliency, but I want to share with you some of the facts. Right now, as of today, we have over 100 sites that are going to require rehabilitation. And those range from bridges and roads to culverts to stream banks. Our current estimate is that they are roughly about $9 million. The good news, and you probably read this in the paper, is that the federal government and the state government did announce that we'll be eligible for FEMA reimbursement. And so what does that require for us? We have to front that money up front, and we have to pay for those costs, and we ultimately will be reimbursed. The good news is that the city of San Luis Obispo has been financially prudent, and we've planned over the years. In fact, we've set aside 20% of our operating budget, over about $13 million for this type of rainy day event or an emergency. So we've got the cash, we've got the ability. We're not going to stop. We're going to continue the work to improve the safety of our community. If you're a private individual and you suffered some private loss, then we certainly recommend that you go up to the local assistance center and seek support from FEMA. There are state and federal officials up there to help you, whether you're a private homeowner or a business that's been impacted by the storm, and you can take advantage of that assistance. I also want to share that because of the impacts of the $9 million of unanticipated costs, when we spend our emergency reserves, we anticipate that we're going to be reimbursed by FEMA. The time frame for that to take place can be anywhere from 6 months to 2 years or even beyond. And so there's a fair amount of uncertainty. What I do know, and I'll be recommending to the council, is that because I think of the uncertain environment we live in today, we're going to need to replenish those emergency reserves as soon as possible, because we don't know when another issue may arise in our community, and we're going to need those emergency reserves. So back in 2001, the City Council, they adopted what's called a fiscal health contingency plan. That plan allows the city manager to enact essentially budgetary measures to try to constrain current spending. And so I'm announcing tonight to the community that we've enacted that fiscal health contingency plan. I'll be reporting back to the City Council, and if you want to attend on February 7th, they'll be receiving an update from staff and the Finance Department on what does it mean in terms of the projected spending to recover from this disaster, the timeline, the anticipated timeline for reimbursement, and the strategies that we're going to take to restore those emergency reserves. One of my responsibilities under the city charter is to provide a balanced budget to the City Council, and so you'll be seeing that on February 7th. That packet or the information that'll be going to the City Council will be released next Wednesday, and so you'll have a chance to look at that in context. I do want to just also let the community know that we have made some significant progress on the things that are important. And those are a lot of the topics that you'll see up here tonight, whether it's housing, climate action, homelessness, diversity, equity, inclusion. We're continuing to make progress on those. And those are all initiatives that require multi-year investments. All those are the really challenging issues of our day. We're not going to complete them in 2 years. And I've communicated to the council that many of these efforts are likely going to need to extend beyond over the next 2 years. Because of where we are today with our financial picture and having to look at both constrained revenues, increased costs, and this unanticipated emergency, new initiatives or new programs are likely going to require trade-offs. So it's going to require trade-offs to existing core programs or existing new services. So we're not in the position as maybe we've been in the past where we have revenues that are likely going to be able to cover new programs to support our community. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the City Council preserves that authority to make those decisions. We as a city, and I'm really proud of the staff that we have, we can do anything. We've shown that we can do anything. We can do big things, but we can't do everything. And so just like your household budgets, we have to make priorities. And that's really what tonight is about, determining some of those budget priorities. And that's where we've aligned the stations back tonight. And I would say also, just like your household budget, our goal is to identify the highest priorities for our community and then allocate those resources to the highest priorities. So tonight is really a special night. It happens only every 2 years, and it's your opportunity to give us the input on how to achieve potential major city goals. Council and I will be around all night, checking in at stations, listening to you and your concerns, and we have a lot of talented staff to answer questions. With that, we'll go ahead and we'll move to the next slide. And talk a little bit about city services. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Jackson.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Emily Jackson. I'm the city's finance director. I'm going to provide, hopefully, some very helpful context for the conversations that will be happening tonight. And so we wanted to start with kind of a refresher of what the city does. As I'm sure many of you are aware, San Luis Obispo is a full-service city. That means that we're able to provide municipal services in-house and largely do not contract work out. What that means is that we've got a lot of staff doing a lot of different things to make this place a welcoming, safe, and vibrant community in which to live, work, and play. There's a lot of core programs and services that Mr. Johnson spoke to a bit that need to be considered. We have a lot of mandates that we have to fill each and every day in all of our different program areas. And so despite the fact that, we very much want to hear from the community, there's a lot of good ideas, we do need to keep in mind as well that there are core things that we need to continue to do. And so that does not take away from the importance of this evening, but of course we need to find a balance in making sure that we're providing all of those core programs and services as well as all of the things that we all believe that we can do together to make this a better place to live. So the purpose of this evening is really threefold. It's the community survey was recently closed. We got a lot of good information from that, and tonight really provides an opportunity to build on the results of that survey. Tonight we're hoping to really sort of gather some more focused feedback from the community, not only on use of all of the dollars in the budget, but more specifically the local revenue measure dollars, which community voters have entrusted to the city with passage of Measure G20 back in 2020. And then finally, tonight is intended to provide really an interactive opportunity for the community to engage with subject matter experts on the city's team. Our facilitator, Summer, will cover how that actually is going to happen here in a few minutes, but we're hoping that in addition to having a lot of back and forth conversation to help everybody understand and kind of form some really solid ideas about where we could be headed, that you'll also take the time to vote on what the priorities are that you have identified within your own communities. So all of this is intended to lead us towards formation of our major city goals for the coming 2 years. And this slide is intended to show kind of at a high level what those major city goals have been over the last 6 years. We've color-coded it because there is a lot of consistency among the focus areas over the last 6 years. And so what that means is that we have been very hard at work to address these areas over the past year. And tonight what we would like to gather is information about or input about whether these are the priorities that we should be focused on to form our major city goals moving forward. And if so, what does that look like for the coming 2 years operationally, or are there other ideas out there that we should be exploring? And of course, again, balancing all of that, understanding that we do have core services that we need to be delivering to the community as well. So in terms of just a bit more context, I wanted to talk a little bit more specifically about the city's budget and the economic outlook. Mr. Johnson talked a bit about this in his presentation, but just to go into a little bit more detail, we are paying a lot of attention right now to what's going on, not only in our local community, but at the state level and the federal level as well. There's been a lot of conversation recently about whether or not the Fed is going to be able to achieve a soft landing. And for those of you who aren't reading about these types of things all the time, what that means is that the federal government is really trying to figure out a way to slow down the economy in a way that brings inflation down without causing a recessionary impact. So recession at this point is a worst-case scenario. We are not expecting that, we're not planning for it, and we're not forecasting for it. What we're expecting is that there will be some sort of cool down, but we are not expecting to move into a recessionary situation. So that means that there is still the opportunity to talk about all of the ideas that you all are bringing to the table this evening. Unemployment rates, of course, remain low. That's a good thing within our local economy and also at the state and federal level. But we also need to consider the increased cost of doing business, with which Mr. Johnson touched on. Everything from the projects that we're building to the cost of chemicals that we use to treat our water has increased significantly, and that, of course, needs to be factored in as those support, again, those core services. Of course, the storms over the last couple of weeks have thrown us a bit of a curveball, but as Mr. Johnson noted, the city is in a good financial position, and we've made tough decisions in the past several years to make sure that we're in the position that we're in, where we're able to respond to the storm and also move forward with some of the priorities that the community will help us identify tonight. We are working towards revising our fiscal forecast. We will be presenting that along with our mid-year budget update on February 7th. And so I encourage you to continue to try and stay engaged, tune in for that. Lots of good information to share, and we'll hopefully continue to refine the context in which we're operating from a budget position moving into 23-25. And then finally, I want to close out my presentation with a little bit of an orientation to the city's budget so that you feel like you know how to navigate through all of these decisions that will be coming. The city's budget, of course, is made up of several different funds. The general fund is the city's largest fund. That's where we budget for many of the kind of core municipal services that cities typically provide within the state of California. So everything from community development, public works, parks and recreation, public safety, and then all of the supporting departments that provide work to enable us to actually carry out all of the programs and services that the city offers. Other programs like utilities, parking, transit exist within their own funds, but this slide really focuses on how the budget breaks out only for the general fund and where the money comes from. Not surprisingly, the bulk of the city's funding for the general fund in particular comes from property taxes, sales tax, transient occupancy tax, which is the tax you pay for every night you spend in a San Luis Obispo hotel, as well as some other tax revenues, fees for services, and of course grant funding as it becomes available. So I'm hopeful that that helps to provide some important and helpful context for the discussions that we'll be having tonight. And if you have additional information and you want to get more into the city's budget, the local revenue measure table is going to have some really helpful information, I hope. Come by and chat with us if you'd like to know more.
Thank you, Emily. And with that, I'm going to ask Summer Curley, our facilitator, to step forward, and she's going to walk us through the next steps in tonight's workshop.
Great. Thanks, Sarah.
Still no. Oh, there it is. Hi. Is it too loud? Is that good? Awesome. It's great to be with you all. I'm sorry that my back is going to be to you all, but you have kind of a sense of what we're doing. Okay, good. Welcome to all of you. This is fantastic to get to see you all in person, and welcome to those of you that are at home watching this. We're happy to have you on here as well. And in a minute, for those of you at home, I'm going to walk you through how you can participate too. For those of you that have participated in this tradition for years, this is something very special in San Luis Obispo, that you all come together on this night to participate in this conversation, which is one in a series of conversations, right? As you identify what goes into the budget and what are the things you really want to see the city focus on to advance in the next 2 years. And so tonight, that's really what we're hoping this is a collective conversation with all of you in this room that are taking your evening to participate in this. For those of you who may have participated 2 years ago, you remember we were online and there was polling and all that stuff. So if I look a little familiar, that was me. I was there on the screen with you all. And so tonight we get to be back and have this conversation in person and hopefully have a little bit more of an exchange than maybe we got to do then. So I'm excited to walk you through how we're going to do this. And first, I want to acclimate you to the room. You likely walked in the assembly room, and so there's going to be an opportunity to be in that room and this room this evening. But let me walk you through a little bit about how we got to this and organizing the evening this way. So many of you probably participated in the Community Priorities Survey over the last month. We had 1,300 people participate in that, and if you were to calculate that out, it's equivalent to about 65 hours of public comment, which I'm sure none of us would want to sit here for 65 hours of public comment. So it's a phenomenal way to gather tons of information from the community about what's really important to you that we see that we focus on. And you can see there quickly what are some of the items that came up at the top of the list. As our finance director, Emily Jackson, showed you, as we've seen the major city goals evolve over time, you see that there's some commonality in what we're also seeing here for what we've heard so far that the community really wants to focus on. So what we want to do this evening is dive a little bit deeper into that. We want your help to not just identify these are important things, we've heard that. We now want to identify what within each of those are things you think we ought to be focusing on. What are things that we should be prioritizing to really make sure we're hitting the mark? So we've identified the various areas that various topic areas that we'd like your input on. And as you look around the room, you'll see that some of these have signs around the room. So as an example, economic development and downtown vitality is over in that part of the room. All of these topics are in this room or in the room behind you, in the assembly room. So in a little bit here, in a few minutes, I'm going to let you loose to go wander to these different stations that are of interest to you. If you forget what they are, hopefully you grabbed one of those handouts and you can see the different topic areas, and you can go to the ones that are most important to you or the ones that you want to spend the whole time at, or you can try and visit all of them. You're welcome to any of those. So what we're asking when you get to those is that you start to dive in a little bit deeper. So let me walk you through what your opportunities will be when you get to the stations that you want to hear the most about. So at each station, you will have a city staff member or multiple city staff members who are really subject matter experts in that topic area. So if you have a question or you want to hear, hey, what have we already done in this area? Or hey, I have a thought about this or that or the other. Please engage with them and ask those questions or share your insights about what could be done. You'll also notice that there's a couple screens at each of the stations, which is where you're going to see the results of the technology use that we're going to use tonight, which I'm going to walk you through in just a minute. So you'll see live as your fellow members in this room are kind of voting on and prioritizing the work. You're going to see that live populating there. And then the third thing is there are staff members there to help you with any technology. So if you're sitting here going, oh, I didn't know there was going to be any technology tonight, I thought I was just going to get to talk to people, that's totally fine too. If you just want to talk to people, that's great. If you're into doing the prioritization via your phone, love that too. We're happy to help you with that. So if you're having any challenges with accessing any of this, just ask one of the city staff to assist you with that, okay? If at any point you're like, I'm just totally lost, I will be up here. Okay, so you can be like, hey, Summer, I need help, and I will help you as best I can. Or I'll point you in the direction of somebody that can help you, okay? So that's what you're going to see at each of the stations. So let's talk about how you're going to use this technology, if you'd like. How many of you have a cell phone? Yes. Okay. If you don't have a cell phone or you didn't bring it tonight, you're okay. Okay, you can still wander to the stations, chat with the staff there. They have access to technology that they can help you put your info in there. If you do have your cell phone with you, then in just a minute we're going to have you get acclimated and do a little test round with this technology. It's pretty user-friendly, but sometimes I've heard people say that's user-friendly, and then I'm like, I don't understand how to use it. So again, that's when you can find one of the staff or find me. So here's how it's going to work. You're going to click in just a minute on the QR code on the flyer you picked up, or we're going to put it up on the screen. At that point, it's going to take you to a page that looks a lot like this. And you're going to get to select which room you want to go to. Now, the room is the equivalent to any of these stations, okay? So if you say, hey, I really want to talk about open space and climate action, you can go over to that station and you can pull that room on the Slido, this app. You can pull it up on there and you'll see options for, oh, okay, so city staff thinks that some of the things that we might want to do in the open space and climate action area is this, 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 and this, okay? So let me give you an example of that. So you might see this as emergency preparedness, but you might see some of the things that have been pre-populated as ideas of some of the things that we might want to focus on. You then get to go ahead and rank those things. So as you read the 5, 6, 7 ideas on there, you might say, oh, I really like that one. Number one, that's what the city should be spending our resources on to address that topic. Okay, so you'd click that one first. Then I really like that one too, click that next. And I like that one too, click that next. If there's ones you don't like, don't click on them. Just move on, okay? When you submit that, you're then gonna see it live changing, both on your phone and on the screen. So you're gonna see your input going in there along with your fellow community members that are also putting their input on and ranking these things. Is that making sense? How that's gonna work? Okay, so let's say you get to this one and you say, I'm done with that one, right? I got my ranking done and I'm ready to move on to the next one. So you're gonna go up to the top there. Do you see where this red circle is? And you're gonna go to that emergency preparedness one, and you're gonna click on that, and it's gonna do a drop-down menu, and you can pick the next station or room that you wanna go to, okay? And then when you click on that, it's gonna bring up a new list of things that you might wanna prioritize or rank. If for any reason you say, well, that was interesting, I put what I wanted in the emergency preparedness, but now I just talked to Joe, and Joe made a really good point. And Joe now has me thinking that maybe I want to reprioritize what I just put in. You can just go right back to it. Go back to this drop down, pick your room, and you can redo what you just put in because it's unique to your phone, okay? So that's how you can do that. Now let's say you get to a station and you say, I don't like any of these ideas, right? They totally missed the point on, I think we should do this. There's a solution for that too. Go to that same drop down there, and you're gonna see there's a drop down option that says emergency preparedness ideas. So you can then go there and you're gonna be able to put into the little box and whatever you wanna say about that. Well, I have this other idea of what we should do related to housing. You can plug that in, and we will get those exact verbatim comments back from you. And we'll incorporate that into the feedback. Is that making sense? I know this is a lot of information. Once you get in there and start playing around, I think you're going to see it's really pretty easy to navigate. Okay, let's say you're sitting here and you go, well, those are really great topics, but there's something that's really important to me that I don't even see on the list. There is a station in the other room called Other Ideas. And you can go to that station and you can input or talk to staff about, hey, I have this other thought of where I think we should be spending some time and energy and resources, and they'll help you navigate through that. They want to hear your ideas and your questions and your thoughts, and you can also go to that drop-down room and put in your thoughts there. Okay, we have it. I know that's a lot to cover. Okay, so here is how you're going to access this. I know some of you have already done this because you're like so excited to see it and you went to the flyer. If you have a flyer, you can put your phone, go to your camera. I think a lot of us are familiar with this because now this is how you do any menus at a restaurant, right? But go ahead and go to your camera and put it right over the QR code, either on the flyer or right up at the screen. I'll kind of get out of the way so you can do that. When you do that, it should bring you to a welcome screen. If you can't get the QR code to work for whatever reason, you can either wait till I let you loose in just a minute and we can help you, any of the city staff can help you with that, or you can go type into your browser, like if you were going to go to Google or search something, go to that browser and you can type in sli.do, and then you type into the little box SLO, and it'll bring you to the same thing. For anyone that's watching at home that also wants to participate, it's the same process. You can just put your camera up to, your phone camera up to the screen and do the QR code, or in your browser, type that sli.do and then put in SLO. Are you all getting it? Yes, wow, this is a high-functioning group. I'm impressed, and that guy's pumped, and I'm pumped. That's great. Okay, so are you seeing on that screen, the welcome screen, it's asking you to put in one word to describe San Luis Obispo? Are people seeing that? Okay, so go ahead, if you're on that page, this is just a tester question. Go ahead and put a real answer, though, to one word to describe San Luis Obispo. All right, this is just a test run, so if anyone's struggling to make that happen, don't worry about it. We can help you with when you get to a station. Okay, just a couple final thoughts that I want to just mention before I let you loose. The goal here, as City Manager Derek Johnson mentioned, is any city, and SLO in particular, can do anything, but you can't do everything. Right, so as you go to these stations, we really are looking for you to help us prioritize what you think is the most important elements of the work that needs to be done. That's what we're really looking for, to drill down more specifically. So the more feedback you can give us about that this evening, the better that your city council will be able to make decisions about how to spend the funds. The other thing is, there's a lot of you here this evening, and we have a lot of city staff to support you. We do want to make sure, as we have people going to the different stations this evening, if people have questions or comments that they want to talk to staff about, that we make sure everyone has an opportunity to hear all the different voices. So please do kind of keep an eye on, is there like a line building of people that want to talk to our subject matter experts, so we make sure we can hear from everybody. And then, of course, as always, we want to keep it very respectful and civil this evening. So if you're having any challenges or any technology, look for me. I'll be right up here. The name is Summer. I'm happy to help you. You can even yell across the room, and I'll probably come hear you, okay? Any quick questions before we launch? Okay, we're going to synchronize watches right now. The good news is most phones are, on the same time. I have that at 6:47. At 7:45, we're going to be back in these seats. Or you can stand if you prefer to stand. At 7:45, so you're going to have almost an hour to roam the room. If you roam the room and you've already prioritized all the stuff you want to do, and you've talked to the staff you want to talk to, and you're done, you can chit-chat and hang out. And I'm happy to talk with you too if you're bored. And then at 7:45, we'll reconvene for a few minutes and kind of regroup, and then we'll have public comment, and then the mayor will do some closing remarks, and we'll break for the evening. Is it a plan? Okay, you are free to roam. 7:45, we'll be back. Can you hear me? You can hear me. Nice. Awesome. If you can hear me, grab a seat, and if you don't want to sit, zip your lips.
If we are sitting, we do not have to zip the lips.
Oh, no. If you're sitting, you also have to zip your lips. Yeah, good question.
You cannot overrule it.
All right. This is a very timely group. I appreciate the synchronizing of our watches worked out really well. Okay, did everybody get a chance to go to all the places you wanted to go? I see some head nods. That's good news. Good, thank you. All right, we are going to move into our public comment element of the evening, segment of the night. Before we do that, I want to say a big thank you to all of you for being here tonight, participating in this, not just in the roaming and chatting with our staff, but also in practicing a new technology and getting your information put in there. It's some awesome conversations with several of you, and I know if you didn't find it on the list to prioritize, a lot of you had other ways that you got it through with other ideas and whatnot. So thank you for participating in that. I wanted to highlight just a couple things. One, some of you have asked, how do we see what came from tonight? So up here on the screen, if you have not already signed up for the city's e-notifications, go ahead and do that. You can go on the city's website, you put in your email address, that's the website you can go to. Put your email address in there and you will get a copy. You'll get all kinds of city e-notifications of important information, but you'll get a copy of the results from this evening. That's going to go out to the City Council in advance of the February 11th goal-setting session. So that all this information will be consolidated and will be shared out before that City Council meeting. So if you want to see that, that's the way to get access to it. I also just want to say a big thank you to all of the city staff that's been here. This is obviously a large undertaking to pull off the evening and for them to be available to you all. I know they've really enjoyed the conversations as I was checking in. I know there were some really good active dialogue. So thank you all for participating in that, and thank you to the city staff for doing that. Yeah, very cool. Thank you. All right, and at this point, I'm going to turn it over to the mayor to guide us into public comment for the evening.
Thank you, Summer, and thank you for being here and helping us facilitate this process. It's a large endeavor that we go through every 2 years. So I actually had someone ask me if we could do it every year, but I think that staff may not desire that. So we have 8 public commenters, and assuming there are no more, we'll go ahead and give everyone 2 minutes. I will say the name, come on up to the podium. I'll actually say 2 or 3 names so we can get people in a line and move this smoothly along. And then after that, we'll go ahead and come back and reconvene for a couple closing comments. Oh, looks like there's some more. If you have not put in your yellow card and would like to, they're right over here on this beautiful blue table. All right, so first we'll have Charlie Beck, and after that we'll have Dave Christie.
Hello, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Charlie Beck, and I'm a junior at San Luis Obispo High School, and I'm joined by some of my fellow young, passionate artists, and we have just finished our run of Wrinkle in Time at Slow Rep Theater. I am here to speak on the importance of art and culture to our community. Personally, exposure to the arts has been life-changing for me. I have found a beautiful, diverse community that has led me to my passion and given me confidence in my future. Promoting art and culture has endless benefits, one of which is the powerful way they can bring a community together. Art is a compelling, vulnerable medium, and such expression has a way of breaking down barriers. The experience of admiring a painting, knowing that countless others have stood there and noticed the same charming details that you did, sitting in a theater, tearing up at a particularly poignant moment in the performance, only to look over and notice that the stranger sitting next to you is crying as well. Art makes us aware of our souls and our innate humanness, and this discovery can create a culture of connection in our community. As a student, I find arts to be a freeing outlet. It is important to find moments in your busy day to let yourself breathe, and the arts are a wonderful way to engage your creative side. Creativity is stress-reducing and increases self-confidence. Activities like going to concerts or poetry readings allow us to absorb inspiration and engage our minds in a way that is healthy, productive, and entertaining. Nurturing a culture that supports artistic expression and accessibility is a promise of a happier public. Everyone should have a space that gives them the opportunity to create, as Slow Rep Theater has been for me. Creating a space that promotes expression will grant you people who are more comfortable putting themselves out there and trying new things. The benefits one can reap from surrounding themselves with imagination are undeniable, and I recommend it to everyone. Supporting arts and culture is promoting passion, empathy, and boosting self-esteem of our community. It improves quality of life and widens horizons. Exposure to the arts has sparked in me a passion that I plan to pursue for the rest of my life.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just Not that I want to stop anyone, because it is wonderful for each and every person that comes up to the podium, but please, if you enjoy what they're saying, let's do a clapping like this, and of course, keeping it positive. That would be great. That way we can make sure we can hear people come through the podium quickly. All right, so we have Dave Christie and then Ellie Washington.
Good evening, I'm Dave Christie. I'm a retired Cal Poly Business School Dean, and the focus of my activities in the community have been on economic development. Most recently, I supported the San Luis Coastal School District Measure C-22 because I believe that public education is part of the infrastructure in a community that attracts people that to live here who also believe that infrastructure and these kinds of organizations are important. Tonight, I'd like to speak on behalf of my support for the fundraising that has gone on to build a new theater for SLO Rep. I can't be as eloquent as the young people that were here talking about their experiences, but I do know that these kinds of institutions, whether they're the library or SLO Rep or the art museum or the choral societies or the symphony or Festival Mosaic, attract people to live here and to work in our community, that because these assets, these cultural assets, are part of what they think is important and part of their lives. One of the things that is very important in the activity of SLO Rep is keeping the Napomo Street parking deck on target and on schedule, so I would really hope that that can continue so that there's an opportunity to build a new theater. The other thing about the arts being part of infrastructure is that there is a private sector component as well, and we're very fortunate in our community to have Boo Boo Records and the Palm Theater, Art Central Art Supply, Phoenix Bookstore, and our public radio station, KCBX. These things don't exist in every community. I think they exist here because we have a population that supports those kinds of businesses and support the arts in our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ellie Washington and then Amina Karim. Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Citizens Oversight Commission. My name is Ellie Washington. I'm the Board Vice President of SLO Repertory Theater, and I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of our Board of Directors for SLO Rep. With a seemingly infinite number of ideas to prioritize the city's needs and limited funding, I respect the difficult task at hand. Our board wrote to you this week regarding our appeal for arts and culture to remain a part of your major city goals. I won't repeat those points except to reinforce how grateful we are for the council's strong support of SLO Rep and the Future Cultural Arts District. The last 2 days I've been juggling a sick toddler with work, and being here tonight was probably the last place I wanted to be. But I feel so strongly about this, and I am that passionate about this issue. We have so much forward momentum, having raised 72% of our capital campaign goal. We can't slow down now. We need the city's continued support to ensure arts and culture remains one of the driving forces of the city's economic recovery, resiliency, and fiscal sustainability. As a realtor, many of my clients are relocating to this region, and they're not just retirees, surprising. They're young professionals, they're young parents, they're middle-aged, they really run the gamut, and they want the reassurance that they are going to truly feel at home here. They ask about jobs, schools, diversity, and also things like, what do people do here besides wine tasting? They want to know that they're not moving to a cultural wasteland and that there's a diverse and cultural vibrancy to our region. And we have a lot more to offer than just great weather and clam chowder. Your past support is one reason that our community is on track to have a bona fide cultural arts district thriving in our downtown before this decade is out. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much. Armina Karim and then John Dunn.
Good evening, council members and RIAC committee members. My name is Ermina Kareem. I'm a resident of the city of San Luis Obispo, and I have come to these sessions many times in the past and spent much of my time in San Luis Obispo kind of persevering and fighting for the economic vitality of our community. And as we heard earlier tonight from the city manager's comments, our economic, and Ms. Jackson's comments, our economic future is kind of unstable, rocky right now as we look out. And so I ask you to once again prioritize economic development as a major city goal. But economic development means many things to many people. And over the last 2 years, as our residents and businesses have struggled through COVID, the city has been a beacon, from sponsoring programs to encourage people to patronize local businesses, to shop locally, and now to eat locally, to investing in long overdue beautiful downtown lighting during the holidays, and definitely most impactful to me and my family is partnering with art institutions like the SLO Museum of Art and SLO Rep. As a board member of the SLO Museum of Art, I've been so thankful for this vital partnership with the city. These types of investments have made our city more beautiful, more inviting, more inspiring, more caring, more safe. And over the last few years, when we have all needed it, it's provided a respite for our mental well-being and for human connection. And of course, there's so much evidence, as we've heard, about the tremendous impact that arts organizations have on our economic well-being. So as you think tonight and in the coming weeks about the difficult decisions ahead, I ask you respectfully to continue to stay focused on economic development and to remain focused as part of that economic development work and investing in our arts and culture. Thank you.
Thank you so much. John Dunn, and then Scott Clear.
Good evening. My name is John Dunn. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for your support of this process, which has been going on for many years. Downtowns done right are the heart and soul of any community, and we are very fortunate in San Luis Obispo to have a beautiful, wonderful downtown. Of course, it, like other areas, has come under duress during this pandemic period. Downtowns historically have been a retail center, obviously with a few additions, banks, barbershops, bars, and churches, and et cetera. But today that's probably not enough. The nature and the function of downtowns is changing, and what we're discovering is that downtowns have broader functions than they used to have, including entertainment and recreation, et cetera. And I'm here tonight to really speak out in favor of what you have previously dedicated yourselves to, which is the creation of the Downtown Physical Concept Plan in 1993, more recently updated in 2017, and it stresses the addition to Mission Plaza, the cultural corridor. And this cultural corridor, of course, has 4 existing museums on it today, and of course SLO Rep will be hopefully there in the very near future. This strengthens and revitalizes our community. It's not just important from an art and cultural point of view, though that's extremely important, because a downtown without that component of art and culture isn't really that much of a downtown. But it also gives great economic incentive to the community in the fact that it brings in people to our community, to our restaurants, to our businesses, to our hotels, et cetera. And specifically, I'm here tonight on behalf of SLOMA, the San Luis Obispo Museum of Art, and the SLO Repertory Theater. And
Thank you so
what
much.
they're proposing to do in the future
Thank you,
will
John.
be vital attractions to this community.
John, your time's up. Thank you. So next we have Scott. Thank you. Scott Clear and Ethan Guterman is next.
Hello, I'm Scott Clear. I've lived in San Luis Obispo since 1996, and many times before I've been here to talk about the importance of lighting the tennis courts at Sinsheimer Park. But I have thought further about it and think that just the overall lighting the playground, lighting the baseball, softball diamond, has a huge potential and value to the community. If y'all haven't walked at Sinsheimer at this time of night, at this time of year, and even more when it's darker earlier, it's a spooky place. I mean, it's not really something that you would want to send kids or people out to that weren't sort of able to look after themselves. So I also think about all the apartments and all the people that live on Augusta and Southwood that would so benefit from having a place to say, kids, get out of this house. I'm going to go. I want you to go play. I want you to get some exercise. I want you to turn off your iPad, your tablet, whatever. So I just want to speak again, as I have many times, of the value that would come from such a thing. And I know that there's pushback. I know that neighbors go, I don't want it late. And really, it's kind of an interesting thing when you look at January and July. We just want kind of what happens in July to happen in January to the degree that it can. So that's my spiel. Thank you for hearing me. Have a great night. Appreciate all that you guys do. Ciao.
Thank you so much. Ethan Gutterman and then Connor Winnan. Connor Winnan.
All right, hello council and city staff. I'm a third-year student at Cal Poly. My name's Ethan, and I want to start off by thanking everyone and all the people here for such an amazing event. This really felt very engaging, both from our community members and from city staff, so I want to applaud Ann from our private help. I really would like to applaud all of you for a great job tonight. And also, I think what City Manager Johnson said earlier about the economic struggles our city might be facing if we face another, massive rainstorm, natural event it's pretty scary. So I asked, is now really the time to debt finance $52 million for a new police station? Is that the kind of messaging we want to send to the citizens of SLO, having the Repertoire Theater having to practically beg for money and having to crowdfund? Do we want to prioritize building this brand new police station, or public safety center as we're calling it, when the option is there to retrofit it for more than or less than half the cost? I just don't think it represents the priorities of our city, the priorities of as Cal Poly, as a Cal Poly student, and I would strongly urge spending the money better, like funding the downtown recreational areas or giving lights to Sinsheimer Park. I also, as a Cal Poly student last year, I was living on campus and I couldn't afford to buy a bike at that time. And I felt very disconnected from the city of San Luis Obispo as a Cal Poly student living in Poly Canyon Village, which is like in the armpit of campus. There's no bike share in San Luis Obispo. We are the only major college town in California not to have any sort of bike or scooter share, whether it be Lime or another private firm or something owned by the city. We're an anomaly, and it's kind of an embarrassment talking to my friends from other schools that we don't have this kind of program. And I think focusing on hiring more bus drivers and expanding bus access, both by creating more routes and by giving more drivers to the routes already existing, would be a great solution to this problem. And that really comes down to, you all know, you can't find drivers. Why is that? Because you don't pay them enough. You need to pay them better, give more benefit packages, better hiring bonuses to entice more drivers. Thank you for a great event. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Connor Winnan and then Jen D'Antona.
Hi, I'm Connor Winnan. I'm a fourth-year student at Cal Poly, and I'm here to oppose the building of the new $52 million police station. The current police station could be remodeled instead so funds can be used on other community priorities. Contractors have estimated that the current police station could be remodeled for around $18 million and still meet the needs of the department. The proposed police station would be debt financed by Measure G local sales tax, which generates around $21.6 million per year. I'd like to know which essential services, like homelessness resources, youth and senior services, road infrastructure, or mental health services that are supposed to get Measure G funding will be underfunded for 2.5 years while we pay off a luxury police station. Please reconsider rubber stamping this new police station. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jim D'Antona and then Hudson Fox.
Good evening, council, members of the REOC City staff. Thank you for this evening. So amazing to see all of this put out for our residents to provide input. Certainly you've received our letters. Want to thank the REOC for their dedication to this. When the SLO Chamber Board came out in support of Measure G. We were so thankful that we were going to have an oversight committee of citizens to look at the great work that the city wanted to do. So thank you for your service. Want to spend our time to talk about supporting obviously the economic development goal for the city. We look at the incredible investment you've made in the Buy Local bonus, Eat Local bonus in our local community. That then pays dividends back, that helps fund our infrastructure, that helps fund all the services that you provide, and we'd love to see that continue. Additionally, we love the investment you've made in childcare, as that then incentivizes and allows our workforce to continue, improves our quality of life here for our parents, our families to grow here. Finally, what I'd like to add on to is the point I've made in the past around a general plan, focused general plan update. You recently released the idea of flexible density in our community. That is an incredible opportunity to provide workforce housing for our younger professional generation to live downtown, support our downtown commercial, and really take ourselves to the next level. But that is going to need some updated zoning considerations, and I think a focus, whether that's just up the Monterey core or in the downtown core as a larger piece, in a focused general plan update would be truly amazing. Thank you all for your service and all the staff that spent the time here tonight. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Hudson Fox, and then Shana Paulson.
Hello. Well, unlike a lot of the other people who just spoke, I didn't prepare anything because I didn't know you had to. But I find it important to come up here and speak because I know some of you may know me, but I specifically am trying to advocate more for mental health and mental health like awareness, as well as resources being driven forward to the youth of our community. I go to Cuesta Community College, and I've got a few resources there that I've been using. I was just recently diagnosed with a mood disorder, so it has been incredibly interesting for me to navigate this world. But what I've been noticing is this mood disorder was something I was born with, but a lot of my peers and a lot of my, my friends are all suffering from very similar symptoms as I am, which sort of shocks me due to the fact that not everybody can be born with this mood disorder. I personally believe that the education system and the way that it's set up to enforcing just people to compete and all of these things, it is incredibly bad for, I don't know, oh my God, I'm like losing myself and I know I sound crazy, but the long story short of it is I think now with the advances in technology, us young people know a lot more than you think we do. And because of that, a lot of the adults in our lives are trying to shelter us, as well as, I mean, the public. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 young people here. And I think that even in the voting, it showed that it's not very geared towards engaging us. And I know that it's gonna be a lot to get us amplified because we've got so many other things that distract us, but I think it's very important that you guys continue to push and reach out to the young people and really listen to what they have to say, because I swear it's important and it will be very lasting for you all. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Shana Paulson, and then Suzanne Leedale.
Hi, my name is Shana Paulson. I'm the Director of the Child Care Resource Connection at the Community Action Partnership of San Luis Obispo. Oh, sorry. Tonight, I wanted to extend gratitude to the City of San Luis Obispo for their attention to the need to increase child care access and options for families. Through their investments, we've been able to get 6 new licensed family child care businesses. These are businesses primarily owned and operated by women, and it equates to 48 new spaces for children to grow and thrive in. We have another 5 prospective child care business owners in the pipeline, which could mean another 40 slots for children in our community. So, child care is something, as has been mentioned, it helps parents to work, but it helps our children and our communities thrive. So thank you for your innovation in that area. I also wanted to take the opportunity to ask that as you're looking at prioritizing actions that can be taken to really make a difference in our community, that you consider revisiting some of the business and permitting and building fees, as we know that those are creating barriers that are probably unintended, but make it really hard to expand childcare options and choices for families. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you so much. Suzanne Lee Dale, and then Taylor Grable.
Good evening. I'm Suzanne Lee Dale, Chief Operating Officer for Community Action Partnership of San Luis Obispo, more commonly known as CAPSLO. CAPSLO provides services through 7 divisions, 31 programs. I want to thank the City Council and staff for their continued support of CAPSLO over these past years. With city support, we are able to operate our Head Start program right here in the Ludwig Center, providing quality childcare for low-income individuals and families. The city also provides financial support to CAPSLO's homeless program. Using that support, along with other private and public contributions, we're able to operate the 40 Prado shelter, the 3 safe parking sites, and a warming center to serve our unhoused community. During the storm that happened on January 9th and 10th, we were able to expand our warming center and day services so that no one was turned away, and everyone who wanted shelter and had a safe place to go. It was done in partnership with other community organizations and the Emergency Operations Center of the City of San Luis Obispo and San Luis Obispo County. Thank you to Councilmember Andy Pease, as well as City Staff Member Daisy for volunteering on Monday, January 9th. It is this kind of community support and partnership that we were able to serve 359 individuals on the 9th and 223 individuals on the 10th. Record-breaking numbers. Looking to the future.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And lastly, we have Taylor Grable.
Thank you for hosting this event tonight. I'm here to advocate that the city looks at participatory budgeting. It's a democratic process in which the residents of the community directly decide on how to spend city funds. So this is a budgeting process that's centered in EDI. It deepens democracy, builds stronger communities, and it makes public budgets more equitable and effective. It gives people real power over real money. So what does this look like? What I'm asking of council is, or this budgeting process, is that you put aside some money to work with a nonprofit called the Participatory Budgeting Project, and they could let the city know, like, will this project actually work for this community? It might not, it might, but it's an initial step. So what is participatory budgeting? It'd be a lot like tonight, but we would be looking at projects that were actually proposed by community members, and then the community as a whole votes to decide which ones are funded. So the council creates the program, but the public proposes projects, and they kind of work with staff to refine those projects, and then they vote and directly decide how it's spent. So it's being done in Vallejo and some other cities across the US. It's kind of a new program, but I think it would really show the city's interest in like new programs to bring in young people or people who usually aren't part of the process. So yeah, there's some great organizations that you could just contract with right now to start talking about it. And if it makes sense or not, I'm not sure, but I think it would be something really amazing for the city. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And I think we have hit all of the public comment cards. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming out and sharing your public comments. I know that takes time, and you are all here in the evening, away from your families and other fun things, so I just really appreciate your time. Our next steps are really that we will be seeing you potentially at the next meeting, February 7th, and then we also have February 11th, which is our other budget planning. We'll be taking all of this information and gathering it. Staff will be taking all this data and coming back and sharing it with us as the council and you as the public to be able to see what everyone has kind of put in the top priorities. And from there, we'll go ahead and make a decision on the 11th as far as our top priorities that will be decided as a major city goal or as a budget priority. And then staff will come back in April with a draft budget, and then we'll give our input, just like you will, and then in June, we'll go ahead and finalize that project, that budget. So I just wanted to give you just a little bit of an overview of what the next steps are, and I'm really excited to hear what the feedback is from tonight and see what everyone's priorities ran. And also for anyone who's listening and didn't get to put their input, there's still a little bit more chance. Community forum at community forum at slowcity.org or email council@slowcity.org. You can still give your input in, and we are collecting that all the way through the 7th and trying to put that together the staff will be putting that together for the 11th meeting. So really excited to know that there's still chances, and of course there's chances throughout the entire year, but we really want to focus this in so that your input is really thought of at the time that we're making these decisions. Because often people come to us later and say, you need to do the X or you need to do Y, and it's like, that's great, and we also already have these plans that we're doing. So really want to make sure that people are getting that input in early when we can. And also just wanted to really thank, again, everyone for coming out. I know that you have a lot to do, and your involvement in this is really, truly, democracy is at work. Someone mentioned that in their public comments, and really, this is that. This is you being able to put in your thoughts right now, and I think that really there are just very few places to do that. I really want to thank everyone from the REAC to be here and sharing this meeting with us, being able to hear all the community and what their thoughts were as well. Thank you for spending your time and your energy with us together. And we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting to our next regular council meeting on February 7th back at City Hall at 990 Palm Street. Thanks so much and good night.